Around the SEC, brought to you by Precision Chemical and Equipment. Come check out our selection of Exmark, Yazoo Keys, and Dixon zero-turn radius mowers, located 1/2 mile south of Siegen on Airline Highway. The Florida Gators.
Linebacker Dee Finley has been charged with resisting arrest without violence after a traffic stop on campus. New coach, same result, Florida players being arrested. Finley also was charged with driving with a suspended license. Both charges are misdemeanors. Will Muschamp said he's aware of the incident, will handle the matter. Finley apparently was pulled over after he drove his scooter around a barricade at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. When asked for his license and registration, Finley refused to give the information. He started his scooter, tried to leave the scene. The police officer grabbed his wrist, refused to let him go. Finley pushed the officer's hand away. The officer threatened to use a taser on Finley before he finally complied and put his hands behind his back. No word on the punishment from Will Muschamp, though. Muschamp did say his team is trying to get A.C. Leonard back for some work in practice this week. True freshman tight end was second on the depth chart before tearing the meniscus in his left knee early in fall camp. Also an update on cornerback Jeremy Brown. He continues to be questionable with a knee injury he suffered in mid-August.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Tyler Wilson is expected to play Saturday when the Razorbacks host Troy. Wilson was held out of the second half against New Mexico on Saturday with concussion-like symptoms. Wilson said Monday he had his bell rung during a touchdown run late in the first half against the Lobos. His injury was one of three significant setbacks for the Razorbacks in that game. Senior defensive end Jake Beckett suffered a hamstring pull. Senior receiver Jarius Wright had a knee. They also suffered a knee injury, I should say, also suffering injuries. Bobby Petrino said he'd know more about their status for the Troy game later this week.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
If you'll excuse this pun, the Tide is beginning to turn fully in favor of A.J. McCarron as Alabama's starting quarterback. Nick Saban may not be fully letting on, but his practice habits certainly indicate his preference. Saban told reporters that he plans to continue giving A.J. McCarron 2 snaps for every 1 that Phillip Sims takes in practice. They got North Texas this week. Should be an opportunity for both guys to see a lot of playing time.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Mark Richt says it's time to confirm what we all already know, that Isaiah Crowell is the team's number 1 tailback. Richt said that the freshman would start Saturday against Coastal Carolina. He's been playing behind Richard Samuel. Crowell rushed for 118 yards and a touchdown last week against South Carolina. Also caught a 17-yard touchdown pass. Meanwhile, Richard Samuel has been slowed by a heel injury. Also, speaking of injuries in Athens, we've been telling you about the inside linebacker injuries with Alec Ogletree suffering a broken foot and Christian Robinson a less severe foot injury, but both are out from 2 to 6 weeks. The latest depth chart lists Mike Gilliard, who's a junior, and Armarlo Herrera, a freshman, as the starters at inside linebacker this week for the Bulldogs.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina shuffled their secondary in preparation for Saturday night's game with Navy. Devontae Holloman was moved from spur to strong safety. DJ Swearinger has moved from strong safety to free safety. And free safety Jimmy Legree out of the lineup. He struggled against Georgia this past weekend. At cornerback, Akeem Auguste will miss this week's game with Navy. They hope to have him back in 2 weeks against Vanderbilt. He's battled a foot injury since preseason camp.
The Auburn Tigers.
And you'll be happy to know that Auburn's live mascot is recovering nicely after hitting the window of a suite Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Spirit, who's one of the 3 live Eagle mascots, hit the glass during the famous pregame flight, but he recovered, completing the longer-than-usual descent to the 50-yard line. After hitting the window, Spirit even flew closer than usual to fans, many of them ducking out of the way out of their seats. Spirit's a bald eagle. He's been doing flights since 2001. He's about 13 years old. He has taken practice flights since the collision and seems fine. If you would like to see video of Spirit whacking into the plexiglass window of a suite at Jordan-Hare Stadium, it's at my blog, 1045ESPN.com. Just click Matt's blog. There you have it. That is around the SEC.